Speaking of awesome anglers,
yeah.
Brandon, how you doing, bud?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing good, brother. I got Freddie here.
What's up, bro? We got you loud and clear. That's a good connection.
How you doing?
Are you on a landline? Tell me you still have a landline.
No, cell phone.
Dang, that's some good service. This is the best service we've ever
know,
heard.
seriously.
What's going
so,
on?
Brandon, man, listen, you killed it in the Sailfish Smackdown Leg 2. You won 5K from Turbo USA and Railblazer. You won an awesome custom sailfish mount from Global. So let's go into detail, man, so these anglers can know how you did it. What was it like from start to finish? Let's start right in the morning. You started heading out. What was it like for you?
Yeah, so initially, I know because I fished last year's Sailfish Smackdown. I mean, that was a tough one, too, because the current was ripping. So
Right.
It was the same kind of deal this year. And when I got out there, I kind of had the game plan that I was going to stick between like 80 to 120 depth-wise. And then I know from last year, a lot of the fish were caught right out in front of the lighthouse.
Right.
So I was kind of going in to focusing on that, but once I got out there, like the current, I mean, you look down, you stop pedaling or paddling, and then you're, so far down the beach.
Yeah,
So
you're definitely at the mercy of the current.
Right. So since the launch was on the other, it was south of the pier this year. So I kind of tried to stay somewhat south of the pier. And then, a couple of people called in that they didn't hook up, that they hooked up and then either came off or it ended up not being a sailfish.
Right.
And then I was, like I said, 80 to 120. And then I think I caught mine right under 90 feet, I think it was.
Wow.
When I first hooked up. And then
What time was this, Brandon? What time was this around?
I think it was right around 10, like right before 10 o'clock.
Okay.
I didn't call it in initially because I wanted to make sure I had the fish pinned and I had a solid hookup on it.
Right.
So when I saw it, it took the bait behind me. I didn't know if it was a sailfish or not. And then I saw it jump in front of me, and that's whenever I first called it in.
Isn't that amazing, that first jump?
Yep.
Oh man, that's awesome.
I mean, this is my first sailfish too. So.
Wow. So like when it jumped, did you think like, did the technique stuff go through your brain? Like, I need to do this so that this fish doesn't break, or do you even know those things? Like, do you know? Like, did you research like what are you supposed to do when a big fish jumps like that, or like were you fearful of your gear breaking? Or?
So I mean, I was. I mean, I'm in my reel set, so I think like 6 pounder drag at strike. So I didn't want to. I wanted to catch the fish, and see the fish first and foremost. I mean, winning the tournament really didn't cross my mind. It was an added bonus, but I basically just wanted to come out and catch a sailfish.
Right.
So when I had it on, I didn't want to muscle it in. But at the same time, I didn't want to take forever to land it because I think the second one was caught, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes after I landed mine.
Yeah, they come in spurts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially if you're close to the other guy because they come in big schools. So, yeah, so you're trying to like you're debating like, do I hurry up and reel this dude in, or do I just baby him and make sure I get him? But you're, because you're in a tournament now, it's like it's a different story, a different animal. Because if you're out just fun fishing, you can take as long as you want.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah,
animal,
you can take as long as you want.
Right.
But now
it's all time.
Now you're faced with this like you're battling the fish and the time and everyone else. So like, tell me what was like, at what point did you think like, oh shit, I need to go ahead and reel this dude in?
Well, when you guys came up to the with the support boats, that's when I kind of started to put a little bit more heat on it. And too, I mean, like 10 minutes before I hooked up, I put a second line out. So of course that got all tangled up. So once that started to get more tangled, I kind of had in my head that I need to get this fish in, so something doesn't catch up and the fish pops off.
Yeah, good move.
Brandon, what were you using out there? Like with your line and your all together, your gear, your bait, everything.
I had 2 setups out. I had a conventional, I had an Avid LX. I think I had 40 pound mono, 30 or 40 pound mono on that, and I think I had a 30 pound leader on that.
Okay, I like that. Stealthy.
and then I think it was like a 5-0 circle hook, and then I was using a guard on both rods. And the other one's the same thing. I think about the Spin Fisher one was as a bait cast or a Bait Runner 8000 Shimano, and then 2 custom rods, Barrett rods.
Nice, man. Nice.
So at least you brought the right gear. A lot of times we see these guys come from out of town and they're like
7-0 hooks.
Yeah, they're under geared or either over geared. Yeah, I mean.
So Brandon, before the tournament, like, first of all, how did you find out about extreme kayak fishing, and what kind of got you into doing this event in the first place? And then, what kind of research did you do beforehand so that it can give you any kind of edge possible to compete in this event?
Well, I've been going down to Florida since Southwest Florida, Naples area for like 20-some years, since I was real tiny. And then fishing off the beaches there kind of progressed to, I lived there for 3 years. And then I got into shark fishing off the beach. And then I met John through a buddy down there, Benarchek. And I got him into shark fishing. We started fishing together. Then we started doing inshore fishing over there in the kayaks. And then I unfortunately had to move back up to Pittsburgh. And that's whenever he started fishing your guys' tournaments.
Right.
And then last year, the Sailfish Smackdown was the first one I did.
Okay.
And then last year, I had no idea what I was doing. The current was crazy. Right. I mean, I had the right gear, but I just didn't know that area. So this one would have been the third one I did. Going in just like different techniques. I mean, I wasn't sure if I wanted to get the baits down, with weights or anything like that, or just flatline them.
Right.
So I kind of just went with the simplest approach that I knew.
Right.
Just, flatlining the baits and then just hitting different depths.
Now, Brandon, John ended up winning the second Sailfish Smackdown. I think that was 2013. What advice did he give you, being a former champion?
Just to hit the different depths. I mean,
right.
Because, he was saying that the fish they come in packs. And then when they're on the move, they're on the move. They don't stay in one place very long. So
exactly.
I mean, I just tried to move around as much as I could, hit the different depths, and I was just lucky to land the first one.
That's awesome, man. Awesome. Well, let me tell you something, man. It was awesome what you did, and especially coming from once again another state. It's unbelievable. I mean, what you've accomplished. So, are you doing the Summer Slam series?
Yes, I will be down there in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, man, Yep. It's coming up fast. So, talking about now the Summer Slam series, what kind of research have you done on that? And like kingfish, tuna, all that, the meat fishing here in Pompano Beach? Or have you done a lot of research, or are you just going to come down and kind of wing it and see what you get?
I've done a little bit of research. I fished last year's first Summer Slam, and I mean that lasted I think that was like done. Everybody was in by like 11 o'clock because that huge storm.
Yeah, that rain. Yep. Actually, it's raining right now. So
it's been raining crazy.
Yeah,
that was definitely an experience. So I think my main plan with the Summer Slam is I'm going to start fairly shallow, and then just work my way out deep and try to jig. See if I can't pick some tuna up that way, and then just troll again with some gogs.
Yeah, I always tell people, in these meat tournaments, it's going to take 2 fish. So, years ago it used to take 1 big fish and someone would take it, but now, people are consistently for the past 4 years, you got to get 2 nice kings, or you get we had what was his name win it with 2 jumbo blackfins a couple of years ago.
Oh, Ricky.
Yeah.
It was like 4 jumbo blackfin. He won.
He had a lot, right?
He had like 4 tuna. Yeah, they were all over 25 pounds, I think.
And that's the thing, Brandon. If there's blackfin tuna running through,
everybody had tuna that year.
Oh my God, yeah. That the weight will be insane. So, and then you get your wild card wahoo. What's his name?
McCroy.
We saw on Facebook catch a big one.
Luis.
A couple days ago.
It was Luis, right?
Yeah, and we're going to be right around that moon, so there might even be some wild card big wahoo caught. So you never know, but yeah, man, it's going to be good. So we're excited that you're going to come back and fish it. So what was the What was the experience, you know, when you knew that you won the tournament and you won the $5,000? You know, what did it feel like?
I mean, it felt awesome. It was a little bit of like, it took a while for it to set in.
Right.
Just because, I mean, it was a little bit of like, you know, a disbelief that, you know, coming from Pittsburgh, coming down there, not fishing your guys' fishery all the time, then, you know, pulling something like that off. I mean, it definitely took, I'd say probably a couple days for it to really, you know, completely set in.
Right.
It was an awesome feeling.
Did you get like a key to the city up there? Did you tell the mayor they recognize you or anything?
You know what I noticed though, Brandon?
You should probably send press releases to like
thing
whatever town the guys are from. Like you should send the press release to their town. You know, like that'd be cool.
Well, you know what I noticed, Brandon, was when I was talking to you at the awards. When I went up to you, you seemed like you were like in shock. You know, you were just kind of like,
yeah.
And then when Jimmy wanted to interview you, he even came up to me afterward and he's like, I don't think it really set in for him yet.
Nope,
Jimmy,
no, it
you
definitely wasn't.
perceptive young
It definitely
man.
took a couple of days.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. Well, what advice would you give someone new that wants to come down and try the Sailfish Smackdown and try to win this sucker? I mean, being someone from another state to come down here and beat the locals and do it, you know, what advice would you give someone that wants to try it?
I mean, just get out there and do it. I mean, the first Sailfish tournament that I fished, or the first tournament in general, I mean, I was a little bit timid, and I mean, it was only the third or fourth time I think I was offshore.
Right.
But the only way to get comfortable with being out there, I mean, it's such a big body of water, is just, you know, get experience and do it. Do some research, keep it simple. You know, I know some people last year and even this year, I think, had like some helium tanks and stuff like that. I think the simplest way is the easiest way.
I agree with
you. It doesn't take, you know, the most outrageous techniques, the most expensive stuff. I mean, the only way that you're going to catch fish is, you know, getting out there and doing it.
Get a bait in the water. Now, I will say this about the guys with kites. Like, I feel like if you can dial that in on a kayak, like if you can get out there and practice that enough, the problem is people want to show up on tournament day and it's like
do it.
And their first time to try. Like,
right.
That's never going to work. Like, it doesn't even work if you're trying a new technique to get your bait down. So it definitely doesn't work if you're trying a new technique to fly a kite on a kayak. I feel like flying a kite on the kayak, like the guys who do it consistently, catch fish on it, it works.
I see. Now I'm a little. Now I've guys have been trying to fly kites in my tournaments or flying them since 2014. So there are guys that have been doing it. I feel though that it's not there yet on the kayak. I don't know if they got to change things around, maybe make a smaller type gear like in general for it, like how you can buy smaller downriggers and smaller, you know, everything's smaller. But I feel like, I don't know, with the kite fishing guys, they've never won a tournament with the kite. And I just, you know, being on a help boat and looking at what they're doing, there was one angler that was using a kite a couple of years ago, and the kite's flying up and he's sitting there with his baits and he's working it. But what I noticed was his bait was like literally right next to the kayak. Like it wasn't going out. It was going up, but it wasn't far enough away, I felt, that you would get a strike. I don't know. It just didn't seem like it was working. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll get better. Maybe they'll get better at it, or maybe they'll make better gear. But
I think that's what it is. Like you just have to be the kite guy. You can't. You that's just how you have to fish. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
If you're out there 2 days a week fishing with a kite, then your odds increase better than if you just show up for a tournament and try to fly a kite like that.
Right. Well, listen, when you're fishing a tournament, you got to go out there with a mindset of, this is what I'm going to do. I have a plan. I'm going to execute the plan, and I'm going to win it.
Yeah. Also, you need to do what you normally do.
Right.
Like,
You got to do what you're good at.
It's not a time to be trying new things out. Like,
right.
It doesn't make sense to go out there and experiment on a day where you paid money and you could win, $5,000 or $10,000.
Exactly. I mean, I agree with Brandon. I always said, less is more when you're fishing offshore. I don't feel that you need all that stuff, when you're going out there. And plus, if you're going out there competing for $5,000, I don't want to have 6 rods where I'm fumbling around and twisting and turning. And if I get a fish, you know, I want it simple. So I agree with Brandon when it comes to.
Yeah, I'm with you. But if you're the guy who has 6 rods, like be the guy who has 6 rods every single time you go.
Exactly.
Like if you're John McCroyd, he goes out there with a bunch of stuff.
Right.
But he goes out there 4 days, 5 days a week, and he knows how to handle, 3 lines in the water.
Yeah.
I don't. I can't even catch fish with 1 line in the water.
Know.
And so, like, I'm always getting my line wrapped in my rudder,
Right.
no matter what. So, like, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do it, like, do it all the time. Like, make that be do in the tournament what you always do, and
Right.
and don't like experiment. And I feel like your odds are increased.
Go up
greatly.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If you're trying out new junk, like if you just got a new downrigger, best not to use it for the first time in the tournament.
Yeah.
That's a terrible idea.
And I'm one of those people that are kind of against pre-fishing. I feel like a lot of people, quote unquote, blow their load before the tournament. You'll see them catch a wahoo and a monster king, and then on tournament day they get zip. You know, I've seen that over and over and over again, man.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even pre-fish. If I was getting ready for a tournament, I would go on tournament day, and that's it. That's me. I get it for the out-of-towners. I know you guys got to come down.
You want to make a trip of it.
But it would suck if you went out there the day before the tournament and freaking killed it.
Well, one day doesn't have anything to do with the next. But you're right. Like,
but
I mean, you're not catching a fish.
You
today.
know what I mean.
You're not catching a fish today that you would have caught tomorrow. Right?
You're not gonna get. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's still each day is independent. But I mean, some guys don't even fish any time except for the tournament. So you're gonna go spend 8 hours in the water, and then now you have a 2-day tournament coming up for the Sailfish tournament. Like, because now you just spent 3 days in the water, and you haven't done that in 8 months. So it's like grueling on your body. That's why a lot of people don't go out the next day on the Sailfish tournament.
Right.
Because they're tired from the first day.
Yeah.
Because they went out and pre-fished for 2 days.
Well, Brandon, listen, man, I appreciate you calling in, man, and you did an awesome job. And I want to thank you and all the other out-of-towners that listen to this show, for coming down and competing in the Sailfish Smackdown. I mean, you guys did awesome. And, you guys worked through crappy weather. You guys worked through insane conditions, strong currents. So you guys are definitely the definition of extreme kayak fishing. So I appreciate it, Brandon.
Well, thank you, guys. Can't wait to see you in a couple weeks here.
Yeah, man. And I got one more question before we let you go. In Pennsylvania, I've heard that there's a lot of UFO sightings and Bigfoot sightings together. Do you know anything about that? Have you seen anything over there?
I wouldn't say in Pittsburgh. Maybe a little bit east or west of the city.
Really?
Where the people need attention?
I was in Cook's Forest a 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I mean, I think that has some potential. It's pretty thick out there.
Have you personally seen anything odd in Pennsylvania?
Just some of the people downtown.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to say that.
It's more like the people, not the animals.
All right, Brandon. Well, listen, we need you to keep your eyes open in Pennsylvania, my friend, because if you have any sighting, we want to know about it.
Joe wants to know about it.
I want to know about it.
He's been trying to get probed for like 10 years.
I know. It's not happening, man. I welcome them to abduct me, and they will not do it.
He just wants the probing.
I want to talk about it. I want the story.
Okay.
Well, I shouldn't have said that. Now I'm screwed. I'm going to have Men in Black come to my house and...
Bloop, zap you with that little flashlight.
How'd that go?
Bloop.
Yep, that was perfect. All right, Brandon. On that note, we'll talk to you in the Summer Slam. All right, good luck.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right, see you,
in a
brother.
couple weeks, buddy.
All right, bye.